Okay. Yes, I'm happy to be here. I hope you are too. Take some time to come in to land. And do a little smudge. Alrighty. So it's been a minute. It's been a minute. Now in eclipse season. Today is August the 25th. It's a time. It's a time, especially if you have all of the, I mean, I would say all of the placements, but particularly Aquarius, Leo, and or cardinal placements. So that is Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer. Um, lots going on. And uh, the foundation of it is happening. Well, I mean, it's really happening in the major parts of our houses. So, our identity and our relationships, significant relationships. And of course, as our identity changes and we go through a personal evolution, so does our relationships. Our personal relationships, of course, are impact our home, um, our private life. And of course, all of this could not be impacted without also informing our career. Just give a little mini heads up. I'm expecting a delivery, so if that happens, I probably won't pause this. Um, just acknowledging my guidance team, spirit team, ancestor team, divine team. Today is I may go into a little bit of astrology, although I am posting a video on the One People TO side that will be a fuller astrology because I haven't done it on that side in a while. But first, I'd like to talk a little bit about the North Node being in Aquarius. Hello, Aquarius. Aquarius North, well, no, Aquarius Sun, Mercury, midheaven. So I have been waiting for this time for probably my whole life, actually. I wanted to read some of my writing as it relates to mental health and then go into share an essay that I had written um, to approaching approaching 2 years, approaching 3 years ago. And there's a few reasons. There are a few reasons that I want to share. Um, in the evolution of One People TO, this sanctuary, this spiritual sanctuary that I've built, I feel like I've gotten off track, or I mean, everything happens for a reason. So I'm thankful for the ebb and the flow. And I also recognize that in my own personal life, there are things that I'm still navigating that um, sometimes maybe we navigate for our whole lives. And sometimes we hold on to a narrative that may be true and also may be taking up so much space that um, because of maybe the way that it's managed or not managed or tried to, it feels like an inconjunct energy in astrology. It's like, I'm trying to hold this thing that I can't really hold. I'm not really supposed to be holding this. It's too cumbersome and big for me to like hold this and do another thing, to live another life. Um, and and it's interesting because I have been made to think that that cumbersome thing is one people TO, when actually that cumbersome thing is a family dynamic or a dynamic that's not just a family dynamic, it's actually a societal dynamic. And it shows up most for me in the family area, but also showed up for me in the work or employer employee dynamic, um, in dynamics with collaborators or clients on occasion, um, certainly in personal romantic relationships and significant friendships. And so, yeah, as we get more into this North Node and Aquarius season for these next 18 to 24 months, the eclipses are now here, and we're cycling out of the Pisces Virgo axis that had us focus on our service, solitude, health, our well being, our mental health, and our psychological health, and how that impacts everything. Also, the people that we see on a daily basis that impact our mental health and well-being, whether it's colleagues or the people at the coffee shop where we go every day, um, the people that we're interacting with on a daily basis, and how they feed into our need for to provide service, to receive service, how we keep ourselves well and sane. And so we've done a lot of learning about what we need to be well, to stay well. Something I used to say when I worked in the university environment is if you don't feel well, it's going to be hard to do well. So feeling well, good and well is like um, our number one task. And because I worked in this university environment, oftentimes I I think we need to recognize that we're often thinking of not being well as like, oh, our stomach hurts or like, oh, I broke my leg. No, it goes so much, it starts so much deeper than that. It starts in the mind. And if you are constantly contending with cognitive, mental, emotional conversations that keep you either clouded or disjointed or in a space of gaslighting yourself or trying to make sense of or compartmentalize, um, or to reason either for yourself or for other people, um, it will be that much harder to make space for you to process. Remember, this is process across the board. And so, in my learning, my lived experience learning, also formal education in psychology, is that the cerebral, the cognitive, the mental is like the second or third layer. There is an impact first, and then a somatic body experience. And then the body then informs the brain. This is what's happened. First impact, you stub your toe. You look down at your toe is throbbing. There's that somatic experience. Then your brain, and this is all happening very quickly, right? Then there's a sensation that sends a signal up to your brain to say, like, oh, we hit our toe. How we soothe it oftentimes is by giving ourselves some energy or attention or tenderness. We do this on a physical. I wonder how often we take the time to recognize the source of the emotion when we feel an emotion, thought, feeling. And so, in my lived experience, I have learned to not pathologize because I have been through the traditional medical model, it certainly has its place. And for a Black cisgender woman, queer woman, um, there are ways in which there are areas in the body that language can't touch. There are areas in the body that language cannot touch. And sometimes, depending on the vibration or the frequency, maybe it's words that can touch a certain corner in your psyche or in your somatic body, in your emotional mental body. But not all the time. I think it has to be the right person, the right chemistry, the right frequency, and to be able to develop a sensitivity, an energetic sensitivity to what information is coming through in your body and what it wants to tell you. There is a self-trust, a training that is important for us all to go through as we think about our mental health, rather than entrusting someone else to tell us how we're feeling, taking the time to be in solitude, to identify or re-identify what emotions, ideas, sensations are informing your experience and what they are telling you. In my decolonizing work around mental health, I can tell you as well that while I have clinical diagnoses, I and I think that there is an important aspect of accessing, uh, oftentimes a requirement to be diagnosed to access support. So sometimes it's a catch-22. You don't want to be labeled, but in order to receive support, you need to be labeled. And I also recognize that these labels are a colonial construct, oftentimes, a misrepresentation sometimes of what one's experience is. And I'll give you an example. When I was, I guess it would be 21, think about it, but 21, 22, I was diagnosed with clinical depression and generalized anxiety on medication, all of that. I have no problems because, again, as I said, I think it's no problems to share because, as I said, I think it's important to demystify the experience and also to share the experience when one is ready. And I also recognize that certain experiences of mental health can be pathologized in a way that is either untrue or detrimental, harmful, and very surface level. So, as I was going to say, over 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with clinical depression. Now I recognize that depression is my soul, me not, I am not depressed. My soul is feeling depressed. I am likely in an environment where I am being suppressed or oppressed. And as a result, I cannot express. And so I depress. It is a conscious response, an unconscious, but also conscious response. I think at a certain point it's unconscious, and then when you become cognitively, spiritually, socially aware of the impact of your environment and not just the external environment of schools, employers, social events, depending on what the circumstances are, but also having to return to a home environment where it may be harmful, maybe actively harmful, maybe occasionally harmful, but harmful nonetheless. And not just actively harmful, but also um, having to navigate and or manage relationships that dismiss the harm and then ask you to either repair harm that you have not caused or create space, make space for the person who does harm to flail their limbs, if you will. And that is a perfect lead into why I created the sanctuary. Absolutely. And recognizing that the sanctuary is not just for myself, it is for other people who require a sanctuary, but it is also, it is not, it's not a free for all. It's a sacred space, a sacred sanctuary. And I think in the recognition of people needing a space like this, I have made it too accessible, too available to people that don't really understand the value or don't want to reciprocate the value for the impact of what it is that they receive here because it is so priceless, it is so non tangible. And yet it does result in a level of ease and peace and calm that you is oftentimes rare these days. It's actually very rare to have that, to be able to create that outside of your own home or safe haven. And this is why I think it's really important for folks to decolonize their own mental health journey, their wellness journey, what wellness looks like. So this journal, it's obviously had its time because the pages are falling out and the books are, yeah, fully, but I still do love it. At the back, I used to write down CDs. This is from like 20 years ago, literally from June. This is from June 2000. There, June 9th, 2006. It's kind of hard to see. But, at the back, I have a list of CDs to buy and books to buy. Selena Johnson, Eartha Kitt, Frank Sinatra. Oh, I had lent this, this is Jazz 15, Billie Holiday CD to my best friend. I never got it back, so I had to put it on my list as a case. And then things to look up. And then on the another page, I have words I loved and I wanted to keep in the back, as well as go outside and be miserable for a while. And then he says, no thanks. Suffering doesn't count unless there are witnesses. Oh, let's make sure my, yeah. Okay, so I'll read this one because it is the first one that I have here, but from June 9th, 2006. Sometimes I look around and can't believe what I tried to hold on to in my life. Like anything in my life needs anything else but me. Sometimes I think and think of what I have accomplished and find nothing of worth to hang on my wall or in my heart. Yes, yes, yes. And a poem from Ntozake Shange's 1974 choreo poem, Four Colored Girls. I wrote down Lady in Orange. My favorite color since the day was one is orange, and I really resonated with this poem. Ever since I realized there was someone called a colored girl, an evil woman, a bitch, or an egg. I've been trying not to be that and leave bitterness in somebody else's cup. I don't know anymore how to avoid my own face, wet with my tears, because I had convinced myself colored girls had no right to sorrow. And I lived and loved that way and kept sorrow on the curb, allegedly for you, but I know I did it for myself. I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand being sorry and colored at the same time. It's so redundant in the modern. Oh wow, this is exactly almost 20 years ago, August 26th. Today is August 25th, 2006. Sitting in my seat of self-proclaimed independence, I revel within my body, mostly with gloriousness, sometimes with fear or worry, contemplating choices I've made, positive and atrocious. I am proud of who I am, though sometimes I doubt my knowledge and experience will have an uplifting effect. Still, I continue in my stance and proclaim independence as my savior. A little drawing, probably me or me. Oh no, this was a picture of me drawing a picture of my mom actually on her first day of work with the government. Okay. See if there's anything else in this before I move on. This is me doing the Alchemist spread, December 15th, 2006. So me talking about not using talents, lack of application, being a skillful communicator, having vindictive behavior around me, intolerance, strictness, yeah. And then the change coming through. I did end up, yeah, I was in a relationship at the time and going through a change. So, alrighty, let's move on. A couple more actually. August 29th, 2008. I didn't know how. I don't know how. I need to find out how to feel comfortable with my talents, to enable me to display my work without feeling awkward or arrogant. Mm. I'll go back, April 27th, 2006. It's hard to get in the rage. It is still overwhelmingly hot in my chest and up to my cheeks. In my stomach, constant churning at rolling visions and captions so untrue and false, it's unnerving. I can hear voices mocking and jeering, heckling and hissing under breaths, in between obvious banter, obvious heated banter, or evil chuckles and smirks exchanged in plain view, saying and stating what they know of me, which is not even close to the spectrum of actuality. The reality is the planned demise. The planned demise on their tongue is not for me. And then this last one I'll share. October 24th, 2010. It was a real problem being me, displaying who it is I really am. Just an honest extension of my soul, hurt and hidden, but vulnerable and revealed, naked, but proud of the stars, and still beautiful, and still beautiful. I would like to call it beauty, which is a song by Queen Betty Ray. I listened to her a lot at the time. Alrighty, so I'll read one more, and then from a different journal, and then share with you what I came to share. One was this written, this is from a different journal, but it was given to by my sister some Christmases ago. Must be like literally, I mean, I started writing in this in 2002, so definitely over 20 years ago. Do you have a few actually I could share? That will lead into this essay that I'll read to you. This is August 27th. Interesting. August 27th is timing. Can you see? Yeah, August 27th, 2002. My love for you has disappeared. Gray smoke into a gray sky. I don't know what to tell you, how it happened or when, but I just realized this now. And when I read this aloud, it will become real. I will know, and you will know. This is the truth. From the same day, August 27th, 2002. Nothing affects me anymore. Your coarse words, tone, your acknowledgement towards me or lack thereof. It tiptoes past my door now, when at times it used to stomp so hard, tears would come to my eyes. Thunder and lightning it was. Now a light shower of rain. Nothing you do affects me anymore. This, of course, is a lie. This is the next day, early in the morning. The 28th of August, 2002. I feel like I'm going to die tonight. I hope not. Things seem to be turning around for me. It scares me to hear and see things that aren't there or aren't occurring. I hope this is not the end. 109 a.m. For a while, I don't write. And this is from April 30th. I end up changing the way I write the dates, 2003. Oftentimes, I don't know how to stop myself from becoming anxious and severely frightened. I scare myself with such intense anxiety that tears come, and such fear I don't know how to deal with takes over my body. My heart beats so fast, I think I'm having a heart attack. I don't know how to deal with it all without scaring those around. Definitely had panic attacks and didn't. There wasn't there. I mean, it was over 20 years ago. I don't know about the language about panic attacks then, but yeah. When I read back, I think of how much I've accomplished. And it's interesting because we think about accomplishments being on a wall. But these are lived experience accomplishments that no one would know if you didn't tell them. Okay, back to the, maybe I'll come back another time and share some more of it. Read the one that I came here to read and then move on. I used to be afraid of the skips, the gaps in wholeness, pauses in wellness, skips like skips on the record. Sometimes those skips, they have you double back, almost like you didn't get it or catch the drift the first time. You hear me? Can you? I used to be afraid of the skips, the silence of misunderstanding, unexplainable periods of withdrawal, skips like the forgotten games of hopscotch. Sometimes you're fortunate and you jump forward 2 squares instead of back. Do you believe it? Can you? I used to be afraid of skips. The times, the many times, when only I believed in my success and not my imminent misfortune, family included. Because sometimes those skips, they resemble the same ones as before. And so people ask and wonder if you didn't learn. Can you relate? Can you? I used to be afraid of the skips. The waited upon answers about their expectations, possible exploitations, even the activations that cause those gaps and MIA reports to find which rabbit hole I've fallen into. Do you know this? Thank you. Yep. This last little thing is not a poem, but a little writing exercise that I was led through by a Black author in Toronto. Her name is Eternity. Marcus Sanson? Yes. We were sitting in my favorite place in the city, my safe space in the city. Really, probably not the safest, but safe to my heart. And that's made it all imploded. So I don't remember what he said, but it was something to the effect of if I didn't believe him, I could look at his phone. Well, he didn't say that outright, but he underestimated me. It was obvious in his actions. He gave me his phone willingly, like he had nothing to hide. Like I wouldn't call his bluff, but I would, and I did. I don't play poker, but my gift of reading people doesn't fail me and didn't then, even when I chose not to pay attention. This motherfucker thought I would let it go when it was obvious he was too incredibly arrogant to do that. I was going to catch him at his own game of charades. My heart raced. I felt an increasingly a sense of satisfaction creeping in my heart, mixed with anger, righteousness, and determination to find the evidence I knew was there. And there it was, just one piece of proof that blew up the whole story, the barrage of bullshit, lie after lie after lie. Still, he tried to save face. I couldn't take it. Him in his banker costume, he'd become so proud of and beholden to that. He wore it like a second skin, an armor made to conceal the ugliness and sorrow. Yeah, girl. Okay. That's that. So what I really came on here to share is this essay that I wrote, let's see, approaching 2 years ago. And I don't think I have shared it because it is vulnerable, particularly for people that have not managed mental health, suicidality. But because of the Jason Arday situation, his passing, been close to 2 weeks ago, I'd say now. And my own experience in working in, and obviously not even to his level, I don't have a PhD. Working in the academic environment for over a decade. And don't get me wrong, as much as I experienced active discrimination, active microaggressions, from comments to people touching my hair to assumptions that I ate ketchup sandwiches by Boston, just a whole bunch of bullshit. And the ability to like continue to like brush it off. And then fast forward, ending up with a workplace injury that led to a disability diagnosis that I'm still learning to navigate. And I say all of this to say that I don't receive this as a devaluation. I think many people would. It is not. It is an opportunity for me to free myself, to be a sovereign, to live a sovereign life. Many people would not understand the opening that has been presented to them in such a way. And I am conscious and aware of the opportunities and even the privilege that I was able to access in the exit, even though it was extenuating and a long-term situation that I would have never even thought to forecast or look into, because I had such faith that if you tell the truth, you will be received and heard, and not just acknowledged, but the harm will be, people will atone for their behavior. And that is to me, the hardest part to accept. I think, especially as someone that has navigated childhood sexual abuse, incestual, is that you're often told, just tell somebody. tell somebody, tell an adult, tell somebody in authority, tell someone who can help you navigate the situation. And what I have experienced, whether it is in family dynamics with parents or even siblings, siblings being blood siblings or peers, is that people will see and pretend that they don't see. And that in itself is, of course, a harm. And in those experiences, we learn to hold ourselves. We also learn who to trust. And sometimes we also can devalue our own self-trust in order to be accepted, not even loved, but accepted, tolerated, to have a space. Because we are not meant to be in isolation. We are meant to live and be in community. And I have found, particularly after, even absolutely before the pandemic, but the pandemic has intensified this fear of other people and anger. And sometimes rightfully so, oftentimes rightfully so. And yet it is a delicate dance and recipe of how we choose to move through and navigate while also not minimizing our lived experience or making other people wrong for what it is that they have experienced. There's so much nuance in this conversation, but I would like to give a trigger warning. I probably should have done that already, although mental health is in the title. But yeah. So trigger warning for self-harm, suicidal ideations, and racism. I appreciate you being here, being a part of this conversation. If you feel inclined, I would love for you to share, like, subscribe, maybe comment your own experience, particularly around what it has meant for you to share your lived experience in a diplomatic, objective way. And I think the more that we can do that, the more we can understand that our experiences are not isolated. I know that I'm being called to speak more about my experience with sexual trauma in my childhood home. And not just that experience, but also how we continue to protect people, whether actively or inadvertently, indirectly, unconsciously, but also purposefully, that need to experience the consequences, and not by your hand, but by the universe's hand. And sometimes we need to be more confident to tell the truth. Not just about harm, and it's not necessarily about people, but it's really about sharing your lived experience to better inform how we interact with each other, how we atone for our behavior, how we show up in opportunities to change our behavior. But if we're not made aware, and if people aren't being truthful, then it can be hard to see ourselves at times. And of course, opportunities coming forward to share more of ourselves and how we have navigated experiences, hard times, challenges, is also a learning opportunity for others to know how to approach similar dynamics or certain circumstances, to have more information. So thank you again for being here. My name is Sheena, as you know. If you don't know, then feel free to check me out in the description. Trigger warning, and yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and share this. I am constantly lost in my mind, wandering in the meadows of light and valleys of shadow. I explore, contemplate, and reflect. I look around in delight at the beauty of this world. Sometimes I'm looking around feeling tides of deep despair. I'm not afraid of it though. I know it. I used to feel so low. I would write about it all the time because I had no one to talk to about it. When I did, I'd either scare people into some kind of action. Most folks don't want that, at least I didn't. Or they'd get quiet and just disappear. I'd often talk about appreciating self-advocacy for therapy of any kind, and this is why. I used to swim in the seas of suicidality every day. The end always near, writing goodbye notes in my journals, often to give away my favorite things to my favorite people. I still have some of them. It comforted me to know that if it indeed ever got so awful, my heart couldn't bear another moment here, I could be strong in this way. I rarely swim in those seas now. I find them to be like whirlpools. They pull you in, and just when you think you can entertain the spin, you're taken by surprise and off kilter. I used to self-harm in the form of cutting regularly between the ages of 12 and 19. Upon entering university, I began substituting cutting with cannabis around the age of 15. Oh, and upon entering university, I began substituting cutting with cannabis. Around the age of 15, I was cutting actively, and cutting was easier to hide than smoking. Scars were under my sleeves where smoke lingered on me everywhere. Cannabis helped me to exist in an oppressive environment, especially the cognitive dissonance of convincing myself my circumstances were tolerable. Cannabis literally helped me to breathe. I think smoking does for many people, even if unconsciously. I now recognize that smoking, this is an aside because it's not written in here, but I now recognize that smoking helps people to breathe out their emotions, or the emotions, or the voice that they swallow. Back to the essay. After all, I think smoking does help many people, even if unconsciously. After all, I couldn't cut myself in the room I shared with my roommate. And I cut for relief. I cut to allow my spirit to breathe and cry, almost as if I was letting stale, stagnant breath out of me in a visibly tangible way that felt less painful than the emotional isolation and soul amnesia contracts I consciously forced myself to oblige to. Like most things, I made myself harm ritualistic in a way that I could care for myself afterward. I wouldn't be able to do that in a 300 square foot room. Cannabis, though, probably not the best choice, would replace cutting, and it did reduce my self-harm exponentially. I would be 25 years old when I would intentionally self-harm via cutting for the last time. That's 13 years of cutting. And also why I advocate for harm reduction, not necessarily a immediate and complete elimination of self-harm. oftentimes I did go back, although I haven't self-harmed since I was 25. And that's over, it's almost 20 years now. It was around the age of 12 that I came into my body and realized that my feelings and emotions had a source. Sadness or anger didn't just come out of nowhere. They were purposeful indicators of violations or boundarylessness. When I did advocate for myself, I was ridiculed or minimized. And so I dealt with emotions in ways that I saw friends do: smoking, cutting, drinking. I was actually I was happy to see a therapist at 17 because I felt like I needed it. I wanted a space to talk about what I was feeling. My mom offered these sessions with someone that she knew through her work after the school guidance counselor, Dr. Roz, asked my permission to tell my mother about the cutting. I didn't want to, but I was grateful because I felt like in comparison with everyone around me, I was unsettled with the status quo, with what other people felt was okay. And I was seeking validation. After 5 sessions, though, my mom wanted to know when I would be done. After all, I guess $85 a session was a lot in 1999. Or maybe the expectation of the commitment wasn't clear. I see that now I was responding to emotional isolation in a way that was considered normal, if not ideal, to embody, if not ideal. I didn't know that I shouldn't cry, feel sad, offended, or when I did, I was ridiculed. And when I did, I was ridiculed, shamed, and ignored. When masks fall, it's completely, oftentimes involuntary, and out of anger or fatigue. I was used to being low. And now I feel like I can't talk about it anymore. It seems like such a contrast to who people believe me to be now. As this entrepreneur, as this person that owns a business and or is out in the public space. Because there is this perception, and this is me not talking from the essay, this is me just talking right now. There is this perception that if you share and tell the truth about your lived experience and what is true for you, and how it is that you navigate every day, your challenges, then there's some perception that you're not sane, coherent, valid, um, valuable, worthy. So many words of living the best life that you've come here to live, the most creative and free and wealthy life. Anyway, it seems like such a contrast to who people believe me to be now. It's rare to receive objectivity in a way that's empathetic and compassionate. I don't mind feeling. Being an entrepreneur, feeling full spectrum. Feeling the grief and feeling the gratitude. And knowing that oftentimes, especially now, it's all wrapped up in one bundle. Being an entrepreneur is very much like that too. There is a resounding reward in what it means to express our creativity and be witnessed in an expanded way of being before the contraction of getting back to work or reinventing oneself through a new project. Yet the process to get through and to that reward can be exhausting, draining, grief-filled, even when simultaneously it is good, amazing, and desired. It's a commitment to willingly go into the unknown, to bet on being broken apart in some way, to become a better more beautiful version of self, different than before, raw, rinsed. I can still look over the cliff's edge in my mind. I can feel the darkness present and surrounding me at times. The difference is that I'm no longer scared of what I'll do. I am no longer afraid of my thoughts. I am no longer afraid of myself. I allow the thoughts to come up and I sit with them. Sometimes I'll make space to invite them in and sit in silence, watching the thoughts roll upon me. Everyone wants to be heard after all. My thoughts are no different. I do my best not to entertain them for too long or too often. That said, I think it is a bit delusional to ignore what lingers in the dark. To know what's in the basement, me, I've got to go down. I've got to go down there and look. My harm has always been internal because as a cute, I mean, I recognize that I have a level of pretty privilege. As a cute Black girl turned beautiful woman, I don't have the luxury of showing my anger without repercussion or sadness without judgment. Well, I could, but even as a preteen, my soul was tired of fighting for so long to stay earthside. And that's a fact. By the time I was like 12, 13, which is really why I started self harming as a way to stay earthside. Just the work I needed and wanted to do on myself and for myself had to do with a feeling that was not meant to come from an outside source, any other person, place, or thing. Maybe that's what my family living in this dynamic has given me. A confidence that no matter what came or went, I would be okay with something that I lost early on, that confidence. And so I've sought it out. I've purposefully built it up. I have gained muscle mass in my soul. Even when I wanted to give up, it's no longer felt like an option in a good way. Unless it got really bad and I had absolutely nothing to live for because I'm a never say never kind of woman myself. But truthfully, at 12, 14, 16, 21, 25, 33, 36, I could have never foreseen me living to the age that I live now, 44. Honestly, could have never imagined. Even when you think that you've reached a certain stage and level, and then I went through a devastating heartbreak at 36, crying in the shower, couldn't talk to people, just, and it wasn't necessarily again because of the situation that had happened. I mean, definitely devastating because infidelity upon infidelity upon infidelity upon lying upon, yeah, too much. But the worst part of it was my self dismissal, was my self betrayal of what I knew to be true, of what spirit was telling me, of what my soul was telling me. I trusted someone else because I wanted to be loved, held, accepted in a way that I hadn't been until then, because I felt like this person saw me and yet they didn't see me enough to value me. Let me circle back. I've gained muscle mass in my soul. Even when I've wanted to give up, it's no longer felt like an option in a good way. Unless it got really bad and I had absolutely nothing to live for because I'm a never say never woman myself, but truthfully, all these ages, I could have never foreseen me living to my age now. And throughout all of this, I have had myself in a way that no one ever has or could or can. It was through living that made me love life. It was through living it that made me love life. We're living through it. And of course, I wouldn't choose it actively. I wouldn't choose the breakup. I wouldn't choose the workplace injury. But it's made me love my life and myself in all phases, in all iterations. I love myself even more. I want to have time to love up on myself and to learn to be more, even more discerning. I want more time for intentional play and pleasure to balance out the mundane in life. I want more spaciousness, more time to explore myself, to honor myself, to help other people, to support other people, to guide other folks to do the same, particularly Black women and femmes, the divine Black feminine and Black folks, because this also includes Black men, Black trans folks. It was through living through all of this that made me love life. And trust me, I don't want to be going through. This is not a call for any challenging situations. Let's clear the challenging situations with this full moon in Pisces, this full moon lunar eclipse, even though it's partial, because we still have another 6 months to exit out of this cycle, fully cycle that we're in. But back to the issue for me is navigating those who want to fix me or have me show up in a certain way for their own peace of mind and or personal or even professional satisfaction. I'm good. Thank you. We who have been to the edge and wondered what it would be like to jump or fall, what it means to wade in oceans of possibility, and that there too are whirlpools, to know what feels like danger, to know what feels like danger is everywhere, like danger being everywhere, and to go beyond just existing in that space, to learn how to thrive in it, to know that the risks are endless and so too the reward. And as high as the rise is, as low as the fall, and learning not to be resentful when the tide ebbs, because it is all a part of the process. The tagline, my tagline, for the longest time on Twitter before it became X, and I've just reclaimed it, is I thrive in chaos and create new connections via epigenesis. If you don't know what epigenesis is, it's the ability to change your DNA. Because I have learned to live in a tornado and find the eye, the calm, if in nowhere but myself. Mental health as a whole is a complex space to understand and navigate. Everyone expresses, repairs, and treats harm differently. We do trainings that assist and mental health first aid, but there's so much more for us to do, so much more. Most things like this type of learning needs to be imprinted as a body memory so that it becomes a part of our intuitive response mechanism. To have that imprint, we need to engage with what it means to be courageous, 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 to be courageous. We need to soften the walls that keep us from loving ourselves and each other unabashedly. What does and could that look like? Working with different experiences, strengths, pearls of wisdom, and options to work through disparities and jealousies, to have one's work to do alongside others, doing their work, to allow oneself to be seen as vulnerable and strong, to stand up for life, and one's ability to know what is true and best for them, to allow for grace and space, to employ compassion over competition, to demonstrate solidarity over silence, to see where others need help and rather than step over them, offer support. We walk down the street and don't even acknowledge other humans. We avoid eye contact at all costs. Fearful someone may want something from us, or we may invite unsolicited energy. I understand it. As an energy practitioner, I do. But I propose this tiny way to demonstrate courage and acknowledge that we do see each other, not just online, but in our day-to-day. As humans being human, allowing everyone alive to live their life as they see fit, in line at the grocery store or drive-through or on the subway or the bus or at school or work, in the elevator or stairway at home. I catch someone's eye, I try, and smile. I told a woman on the street I liked her dress twice, and she looked me in the face and walked right by. I didn't have to, and I actually consciously, and it's not a, it's just a recognition that we are so scared of each other. It's only been until after the pandemic that I've truly accepted I couldn't change, can't change people's conscious or unconscious perspectives of me, and their corresponding level of respect and or behavior, regardless of how much I gave of myself, how smart I was, how fun or how friendly. No matter their age, race, gender, title, or position in my life, I've learned most arguments may not be worth my breath. If I feel I won't be heard, I will always weigh my needs with the energy expended. As an energy worker, what I realize now is that I've needed to do this work to value my presence and my energy in a way that can't really truly be properly articulated. Also, that my work on and with myself will always be the most paramount thing. Because beyond helping people, my work, our collective work, is to love and accept ourselves, to celebrate, love and honor ourselves in a way that only we can. There is no love like your own. That message has been coming up again and again and again. Our collective work is to love and accept ourselves, to celebrate, to love, and to honor ourselves in ways that only we can, because there is no love. Sometimes we need a little extra time to remember and embody that. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there I will wrap it up. There's more, but I'll continue this on another episode, another session. But I invite you to think, particularly in these next 6 months, about how you are nourishing yourself, your mental health, your well-being, and creating sanctuary for yourself at home, but also in other places where you can go, where you can carry that within yourself, and hopefully teach others to carry it within themselves as well. Sending you many blessings. Stay